Right now, Nanjing is filled with businesses closing down. This year has been extremely tough for brick and mortar businesses. Just recently, some heartbreaking news trended online. A long-established company in Kunshan announced its dissolution, leaving over 2,000 people unemployed. I've been working in financial loans in Nanjing for 13 years, and I've interacted with many business owners. They are either barely holding on, using loans to keep their operations running in the hope of a turnaround, massively cutting down on manpower and equipment, or directly announcing bankruptcy. Perhaps these business owners are the most unfortunate group in 2024. Surviving this year is more important than anything else. In the past 2 years, 460,000 businesses have closed down nationwide. 3.1 million individual businesses have been deregistered, and 23 million people are facing unemployment. This doesn't even include nearly 10 million new graduates each year. Even the surviving companies are afraid to expand blindly and are starting to downsize and lay off employees. In big companies in Shenzhen, laying off 20% of the workforce at once is no longer surprising. Even jobs once considered secure, like teaching positions, are now being contracted out, turning teachers into contract workers, no different from regular laborers. For 13 years, over a million people have registered for the teaching exams, with some positions seeing over 10,000 applicants for a single spot. The difficulty of securing these jobs now exceeds that of getting into Peking University or Tsinghua University. For ordinary people, finding a stable job is really tough. At the same time that many domestic businesses are closing down, foreign enterprises are also withdrawing from China. Microsoft suddenly announced that their AI team in China will be relocated to the United States, and they even took care of the visas for the family members. Many people question the authenticity of this news, but it's very likely true because I know quite a few people in similar situations. In the past couple of years, many foreign companies have been withdrawing from China. A friend of mine encountered such a situation with their company, which relocated to Singapore. They were even given two options. One was to have the visas for their family members handled and move to the new company in Singapore, and the other option was to take a high severance package, around 1 million yuan. My friend chose the second option and then found a job with a state-owned enterprise in Baoshan. In recent years, due to the continued decline of China's economy and the impact of factors such as US-China trade war and the COVID-19 pandemic, a large number of foreign investments have been withdrawing from China and shifting their focus to Southeast Asia. Recently, the CEOs of international tech giants Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia have visited countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Vietnam. They have met with leaders of these countries and have pledged to invest billions of dollars. The latest investment comes from one of the American tech giants, Amazon. On May 7th, the company announced plans to invest $9 billion over the next 4 years to expand its cloud computing infrastructure in Singapore. On May 2nd, Satya Nadella, the CEO of another American tech giant, Microsoft, visited Malaysia and pledged to invest $2.2 billion over the next 4 years in AI and cloud computing. This investment aims to assist in the development of the country's AI infrastructure and represents the largest investment by Microsoft in Malaysia in 32 years. Prior to this, on May 1st, Nadella visited Thailand, where Microsoft announced plans to develop cloud and artificial intelligence infrastructure in the country. This includes opening the first regional data center in Thailand, although the specific amount of investment was not disclosed. On April 30th, Nadella visited Indonesia and announced that over the next 4 years, Microsoft will invest $1.7 billion to develop cloud computing and artificial intelligence infrastructure in Indonesia. Earlier, on April 16th, Tim Cook, the CEO of American tech company Apple, visited Vietnam and announced an increase in investment in manufacturing bases. Amid heightened tensions between China and the US, he aims to diversify risks by expanding the supply chain to Southeast Asia. Vietnam has already become another significant supply chain region for Apple in Asia, hosting nearly $16 billion of Apple's investment. In addition to Indonesia, Cook also visited Vietnam and Singapore. On April 17th, during his visit to Indonesia, Cook announced additional investment in an Apple Development Academy and expressed intentions to invest in manufacturing facilities in Indonesia. On April 18th, during his visit to Singapore, Cook announced a new round of expansion in the country. He outlined plans to invest over $250 million in expanding the Ang Mo Kio campus in Singapore. Furthermore, Apple launched its online store in Vietnam last year and even introduced Apple Pay services in Malaysia earlier. Additionally, a report by Voice of America in December 2023 stated that Apple and its suppliers plan to produce 50 million iPhones annually in India over the next 2 to 3 years. They also aim to manufacture tens of millions of related products in subsequent years. Apple has enlisted Tata Electronics in India as one of its suppliers to achieve its manufacturing diversification goals. It has outsourced the production of iPhone casings to Tata Electronics. Tata Electronics is constructing a new factory dedicated to producing the next generation of Apple smartphones. Spanning 500 acres, the facility will feature approximately 20 assembly lines and plans to employ about 50,000 workers. The initial investment exceeds $600 million. The new factory is expected to be operational by the end of 2024, specifically for manufacturing the iPhone 17. Previously, American technology company Nvidia also planned investments in Southeast Asian countries including Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. In 2023, Nvidia partnered with Malaysia's infrastructure group YTL Power International Limited to introduce Malaysia's fastest supercomputer by mid-2024. Manufactured by Nvidia and YTL, this supercomputer will utilize Nvidia's H100 Tensor Core GPUs and will employ Nvidia's AI enterprise software to streamline AI production. Commentators believe that the trend of foreign investment in Southeast Asia is driven by multiple factors, primarily the downturn in China's economy, and factors like the US-China trade war have prompted some foreign companies to reassess their investment strategies in China and seek new markets and opportunities. This shift aims to diversify risks and reduce dependence on a single market. Secondly, the COVID-19 pandemic has significantly impacted global supply chains and business models, leading companies to accelerate the diversification of their supply chain layouts to mitigate risks. Southeast Asia, due to its geographic location and market conditions, has become a preferred target for this shift. The region's countries generally have lower labor costs and relatively stable political environments, making them ideal destinations for attracting foreign investment. Additionally, governments across Southeast Asia are actively implementing economic reforms and open policies, offering tax incentives and investment facilitation measures, which further enhance the region's attractiveness to foreign investors. For instance, countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia have introduced policies to encourage foreign investment, improve infrastructure, and enhance logistics and supply chain efficiency. Commentators also point out that Southeast Asia boasts a vast consumer market and growing middle class, attracting various multinational companies to invest and expand in the region. These factors have made Southeast Asia one of the hotspots for global investors. Southeast Asia has a population of approximately 680 million, with a predominantly young demographic. As internet penetration in the region increases, more and more young people are turning to video streaming services and online shopping platforms. This shift has attracted numerous international tech companies and investors who see significant business opportunities, leading them to increase their investments in the region. Southeast Asia also has a large market for mobile devices and online services. Predictions suggest that by 2030, 65% of Southeast Asians will be middle class with increasing purchasing power. Companies like Google, Temasek, and Bain estimate that the local internet-related services market could be more than double to $600 billion. Moreover, many international tech companies are eyeing the immense potential of generative AI in Southeast Asia. According to a report by management consulting firm Kearney, if the region accelerates the adoption of generative AI, it could potentially boost the area's economic output by approximately $1 trillion by 2030. This implies that more data centers will be constructed to meet the growing demands. According to research, the demand for data centers in Southeast Asia is expected to expand by 25% over the next 4 years. By 2028, Southeast Asia is projected to become the second region after the United States to significantly profit from data centers. As global tech giants shift their focus to Southeast Asia, foreign capital is continually withdrawing from China. On March 22nd, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce reported that from January to February of this year, China's actual use of foreign investment amounted to 215 billion yuan, approximately 29.9 billion, a sharp decline of 19.9% year over year. This marks the 8th consecutive month of decline. Since last year, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce has stopped publishing data on foreign investments calculated in US dollars. The Wall Street Journal noted in its report that China, the world's second largest economy, experienced an 8% decrease in foreign investments last year compared to the previous year. According to data released by China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange in February, the increase in direct investment liabilities in China's international payments in 2023 amounted to 33 billion. The related currency flows of foreign enterprises in China plummeted by 82% compared to 2022, marking the lowest level since 1993. Additionally, data from China's National Bureau of Statistics also indicated that last year profits of enterprises investing in China fell by 6.7% year over year. Reuters reported that since the Chinese authorities implemented strict lockdown measures to combat the COVID-19 pandemic and abruptly lifted them at the end of 2022 without warning, there has been a noticeable shift in foreign investors' attitudes toward China. Concerns over the investment environment, weak economic recovery, and geopolitical tensions between China and the Western countries have led to reduced confidence in the Chinese market. The Chinese authorities' measures to deleverage the real estate industry and tighten regulations on tech companies have also caused unease among both domestic and foreign investors, particularly raising concerns about the transparency and predictability of Chinese policies. Last year, U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo mentioned that American business people had told her that China was becoming uninvestable. According to reports by Chinese state media, on March 19th, the General Office of the State Council of China issued an action plan for attracting and utilizing foreign investments with greater effort. The plan outlines 24 measures across 5 areas, emphasizing the need to enhance the attractiveness of foreign investment and improve services for foreign invested enterprises. Key components of the plan include reducing restrictions, including completely removing restrictions on foreign investment in manufacturing, and pushing for expanded openness in the telecommunications and healthcare sectors. The action plan also includes pilot projects in the field of technological innovation, allowing for the expansion of foreign investment in areas such as genetic diagnosis and treatment technologies. In the banking and insurance sectors, the plan will broaden access for foreign financial institutions, including allowing foreign entities to engage in bank card clearing services. Additionally, it will expand the scope of activities foreign financial institutions can participate in within the domestic bond market. Additionally, the action plan includes measures to facilitate visa processes, extending the visa validity for personnel of foreign invested enterprises and their families to 2 years. To attract foreign investment, the Chinese authorities had also introduced 24 measures in August of the previous year aimed at improving the investment environment and attracting foreign investors. However, many multinational company executives express fatigue over Beijing's various commitments. Concerns over the long-term growth prospects of the Chinese economy have led to a significant shift in their risk-reward calculations for investing in China. Moreover, the unanimous passage of Article 23 on national security has caused concerns among many multinational companies still operating in Hong Kong. The law's vague definitions on state secrets and interactions with foreign entities have heightened anxieties, As a result, some consulting firms and hedge funds are updating and strengthening their contingency plans and seeking legal advice to address this new political risk. According to a Reuters report published on March 21st, a senior executive from a company that has provided consulting services to international companies in Hong Kong for decades mentioned that several companies are now treating Hong Kong on par with mainland China, particularly concerning data security concerns. These companies are isolating their Hong Kong teams from the rest of the company's departments. Another executive mentioned that his hedge fund company, concerned about the provisions related to state secrets in the new legislation, is seeking legal advice on how to interact with regulatory bodies and government officials. The Hong Kong Legislative Council unanimously passed the highly scrutinized National Security Law, reigniting fears that the Hong Kong government, under Beijing directive, is further wielding the national security law to suppress freedoms in Hong Kong. This law, derived from Article 23 of the Basic Law, officially came into effect on March 23rd. It aims to combat treason, rebellion, incitement to rebellion, theft of state secrets, espionage, sabotage, and foreign interference, thereby further tightening restrictions on the rights and freedoms of the people in Hong Kong. Individuals accused of violating this legislation can face a minimum of 7 years in prison if convicted, with the possibility of receiving a life sentence in the most severe cases. Last year, the Chinese government began tightening control over information, including the regulation of databases belonging to Chinese companies. Additionally, there has been a crackdown on due diligence firms. This included the arrest of 5 employees from the Beijing office of the American firm Mintz Group. A professional specializing in corporate investigations told Reuters that although he has worked in Hong Kong for about 20 years, conducting fraud investigations or due diligence has become increasingly challenging. These typically confidential investigations often involve scrutinizing assets and companies. On February 18th, data released by China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange indicated that the net amount of foreign direct investment in 2023 fell to its lowest level in 30 years, experiencing a 81.7% decrease compared to 2022. According to a report published by Nikkei Asia on December 2nd last year, as foreign capitals move away from China, Southeast Asia has emerged as the alternative destination. The region's political stability, immense market potential, and role as a buffer in the competition between the US and China have attracted foreign capital, particularly from American and Chinese companies and investors. In 2022, the total foreign direct investment attracted by Southeast Asian countries reached a record high of $225 billion. Yahoo Finance reported that in 2021, foreign direct investment in developing Asian countries was $619 billion. According to the United Nations Conference in Trade and Development's World Investment Report 2023, in 2022, developing Asian countries received $662 billion in foreign direct investment, accounting for half of the global inflow. Many Chinese companies caught up to the major shift of production chains moving abroad, have sped up their adjustments. They're also moving out of mainland China and investing their funds in Southeast Asia. In July last year, Malaysia announced that Zhejiang Geely Group, a renowned Chinese car company, will invest $10 billion in Perak, a state in the western part of Malaysia, to build an automotive manufacturing base. Geely is also considering constructing a factory in Thailand to produce electric vehicles. It's important to note that from 2017 to 2022, as US-China relations gradually worsened, the amount of foreign direct investment attracted by the 11 Southeast Asian countries also saw a sharp increase, with a growth of up to 40%. Nikkei Asia, citing data from the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, reported that during this period, Southeast Asia attracted more foreign direct investment than China, Latin America, and Africa. According to records from the Financial Times Foreign Direct Investment Cross-Border Investment Monitor, the United States is the global leader in capital investment projects in Southeast Asia. From 2018 to 2022, the US spent $74.3 billion on building factories and other projects in the region. China closely followed, with investments amounting to 68.5 billion in Southeast Asian countries during the same period. Voice of America reported that the primary goal for American companies accelerating investments in Southeast Asia is to reduce over-reliance on the Chinese supply chain, achieve supply chain diversification, and implement friendshoring. On the other hand, Chinese companies are investing in Southeast Asian countries to maintain exports to the US and Europe amid ongoing tensions and deteriorating relations between China, the US, and Europe. Taiwanese microeconomist Wu Jialong analyzed the reasons for the global shift of investments towards Southeast Asia from multiple perspectives. He pointed out that from a geopolitical perspective, the Chinese government has always considered Southeast Asia its backyard. In addition to seeking the forcible reunification of Taiwan, China is also attempting to expand its influence in Southeast Asia and the South China Sea. Therefore, the United States aims to win over Southeast Asia, control the South China Sea, and contain China. As a result, Southeast Asia is bound to become a key region in the competition between the US and China. Secondly, there is the demographic dividend. China once enjoyed a significant demographic dividend, but in recent years, its birth rate has continued to decline, and the pandemic has had a large number of deaths. Diminishing this advantage, in contrast, the population of Southeast Asia is now approaching that of China, providing these countries with a labor force that can compete with China. Thirdly, if these Southeast Asian countries can develop a middle class as a result of manufacturing industries moving from China, allowing them to overcome the middle income trap, the region's total economic output could challenge and surpass that of China. While this is not the case currently, there is potential for it in the future. Wu Jialong finally pointed out that, from an economic perspective, under the leadership of the United States, Japan is likely to increase its investments in Southeast Asia. South Korea has already recognized this trend, with Samsung making significant investments in Vietnam. Taiwan has also joined this movement. Coupled with investments from Europe and the United States, Southeast Asia is set to experience an investment boom. A direct intention of this is to quickly fill the gaps in manufacturing and supply chains left by companies withdrawing from China.